Part 3, nutrition for muscle gain. So you want to get as big as humanly possible. Nutrition is going to be the key indicator to tell your body what to do. So you need to be in a caloric surplus in order to gain muscle. Problem is, if you're too much in a surplus, you're actually just going to get fat.
Yeah, most people make that mistake. They really don't know where the line is for too much, and they cross it very easily. You know, people go on quote-unquote bulks, and what happens is they gain a bunch of weight, and they think, okay, great, I'm lifting heavy, I'm gaining weight, so I'm gaining muscle. The problem is if they're gaining 2 or 3 pounds a week, you know, that's definitely not going to be muscle. You only can grow so much muscle at any given time. Even if training is on point, if nutrition is on point, there's only so much tissue you could actually grow. The rest, unfortunately, is going to be fat, and that's a mistake a lot of people make.
Yeah, and that's a common problem we have. You know, a lot of people also think on the other end of nutrition that if they just eat healthy, they're going to gain as much muscle as possible. I mean, I know for me, I suffered through that, especially early on. I thought that if I eat grilled chicken, you know, brown rice and broccoli, that I would gain as much muscle as possible. And actually the opposite happened. I wasn't eating enough calories and the scale wasn't moving anywhere. And I was getting frustrated and I would quit and binge eat. And it was a whole process that, you know, that people go through. But again, you have to be able to track your calories, your protein, your carbs, and your fat. Those are the most vital things when it comes to gaining muscle nutrition-wise.
Yeah, the reason that's so important is it takes a certain amount of energy to grow new muscle. So you have the stimulus from training, and then you need to replace that with the energy needed to actually grow the muscle tissue. So you do have to have a certain amount of calories in place to grow that muscle. You also have a certain amount of protein, and then you have to balance out your calories, your carbohydrates, and your fats as well, so that you're just gaining muscle with minimal body fat.
Yeah, exactly. If you're overdoing the calories, it doesn't matter if it's coming from protein or fat intake or carb intake, you're going to gain weight. It's just that simple. So again, I would recommend being in a small caloric surplus, probably around 200 to 300 calories over maintenance in order to gain lean mass properly.
Yeah, and you want to take the bulk of that maintenance and make sure that they're coming from protein, filling in the rest with carbohydrates and fats. So if you're in a surplus with additional carbs, but your protein's not high enough, you're more likely to actually gain fat in that surplus. Now, if you're in a surplus and your protein is actually high, more of those extra calories are going to go towards building muscle. So that's why protein is so important. It's a requirement to begin with to build muscle in the first place, but even a little bit of additional protein to help that surplus is actually going to be more beneficial for building muscle than for actually putting on body fat.
Yeah, we would recommend anywhere between 1 gram to 1.5 grams per pound of body weight. I think that's the optimal amount of protein that everybody needs. And you want to be anywhere between that range. You know, if you're someone who utilizes protein rather well, then I would say 1.25 is probably the ideal spot for you. So again, that's today's video on nutrition for muscle gain. Again, if you want to optimize your body as much as possible to gain as much muscle as possible, you have to make sure that your diet is in check. Head on over to newyorkmuscleradio.com/gainmuscle in order to pick up the hypertrophy program, and we jam-pack all this information in there to show you how to gain as much muscle as possible in 12 weeks.
All right, guys, we'll see you tomorrow, part 4.